Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Business of Learning podcast. My guest here today is John Kannapell, who is a CEO and president of Cypher Learning. John, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Joao. It's great to be here. Love to get to know you a little bit, get to know your audience, talk about ed tech.
Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation. And we were obviously having a brief chat right now where you talked about maybe a little bit of the evolution of Cypher Learning. But before we get into that, talk to me a little bit about the company. Tell everyone who you guys are, what you're all about, and who you help.
Yeah, sure thing. So Cypher Learning is really in the business of giving learners to the power to succeed in a rapidly changing world. So this is where we started from a purpose perspective. We built an all-in-one platform to deliver faster, more personalized, and better learning outcomes for our customers. We serve a global customer base of nearly 10 million learners, where we support educational institutions. Think of K-12, universities, continuing ed, but we're seeing a massive amount of growth in business in particular. So brands like McDonald's, Coke, U-Haul, Johnson and Johnson, many others, Yokohama Tires, right? We're really focused on some of the key verticals that are changing so rapidly in terms of new technology, compliance, regulatory
Yep.
change, or just a massive amount of transformation that's happening in IT and computer science technology. Those verticals are really where our platform shines the best.
And have you found that a lot of the issues that the enterprises are usually having, is it just being able to translate the training and just facilitate it? Is it the creation of the training? What's the aspect that really is I guess hurting for them right now where you guys come in?
Yeah, so we see learning actually in transformation right now. So
Mm.
most of what people are used to is sitting through a course, right? A traditional, either in person or an asynchronous LMS environment course that's self-paced.
Mhm.
Because of the evolution of AI, learning is becoming everything from transactional, where you see Chat GPT ask a question, conversationally get an answer, and all the way through micro learning and short form courses to long form courses.
Mhm.
We're really starting to test the waters along that spectrum with different types of agents that allow learners to really learn in progress, which is what we see as the key. Is if you're an engineer and you have a question about how to write certain code, or if you're having trouble, getting integrations with a different system, there's company processes, there's protocols, there's standards that you need access to instantly to stay productive. And we're giving our customers the tools to be able to access those types of learning environments where they can ask questions, have conversations, and access accurate and company provisioned information about that specific type of content,
Mhm.
all the way through, right, small, medium, and long
Mhm.
form content that they can take as a part of a quarterly, or maybe remediation, or maybe a manager in sales says, hey, you're not doing well in objection handling,
Yeah.
here's a whole skills path that we
Mhm.
can enable for you. And so those types of things are what's really changing rapidly in the learning environments.
That's so interesting. And I want to touch on something that you mentioned there about accurate data, but I want to ask before, which is the evolution of the company. Obviously, you mentioned that you guys are more into the or helping more of the institutions, K-12, I guess the educators, so to speak, and now it's moved on to the enterprise side of things. Talk to me a little bit about the evolution, how that's come about, and maybe some of the challenges of shifting from one to the other, or maybe if
Yeah.
it was easier to actually shift from one to the other.
Yeah, no, it's been a really interesting path for the company. So the company is founded by our founder Graham Glass, who's just an amazing engineer. He's this is his second kind of technology startup. He had a company he sold back in the early '90s, and then went back to teaching at UT Dallas, computer science, and just felt like the process that he was using through traditional LMSs was too slow. It wasn't allowing him to be able to train his students on the latest computer science or languages they needed to know to be successful in the marketplace. And so he really used that opportunity to develop our first LMS and LXP to be able to focus on simplifying the process for creating courses and
Mm.
accelerating teaching and learning for not only UT Dallas, but also begin to share that with other university, continuing ed, and K-12 partners. And really, with the advent of AI, it's really been on this amazing trajectory now that some of our components, we have a whole set of solutions under our Cypher agent and under AI 360 as a brand that
Yeah, I saw
allows
that.
different personas. So it started with course developers. So think of an instructional designer, a professor that needs to design a course. We've now been able to take proprietary data, or if they have gaps in their content, web-based data, to be able to build courses that are, I'd say, 80% ready for students in about 3 minutes, which is incredible. And so you've got automated gamification, automated assessments, automated competencies aligned to skills that are either aligned with your curriculum or specific to an industry, and be able to deliver that, which is a very time-consuming
Yeah.
process. Just one example is a company, university in South America called EduSem. They developed 2,300 courses in a month. That's about 140 a day using our platform to reach new student populations quickly with our platform. And so the power is there to be able to not only develop, but the next question is how are you engaging them? And so we've won a lot of awards around
Yeah.
UX UI from leading third-party analysts and other areas that have shown you have to make it simple, you have to make it engaging, and so some of those components around automated gamification and other progress and interactivity are what set us apart.
That's interesting. And so is it all through the content and value that they already have, putting it in that information, and it just automatically creates that? Or are you guys working together to build everything up, and then I guess the execution of it is that simple step?
Yeah, so it's really interesting to think about. It's almost like when Power BI or some other data visualization tool came out for managers, where now all of a sudden managers didn't have to go to someone who knew SQL to pull the data out of a database and transform it into analysis ready data, and then use data visualization tools to model it and understand what's happening. Because the tool came out that was more focused on managers as the persona, all of that back end requirement of knowing how to write SQL and pull data was eliminated, and allowed you to actually have the data visualization, the slicers, the ability to act on data and drive it through the organization. This is what we're doing with our tools, is we're enabling managers and functional leaders to actually have simple tools to develop and deploy courses and learning in the moment into their organizations quickly. And that's the transformative piece, is that it's not reliant on really the control center historically of instructional designs, L&D, departments inside of a company. Now, because our tools are so easy, you can deploy them through the rest of the organization, enable learning where the knowledge center sits versus the control center historically.
That's so interesting. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like being able to have this amazing valuable thing that you already have been using, or you already have the capacity to use, and then it's like, okay, just make it just a tiny little twist, and it just gets delivered to everybody in a much more I guess efficient way, which is very, very interesting to see. And I can see why so many different companies are like, yeah, bring it on, we want it.
Yeah.
So and when it comes to creating these relationships with companies, obviously the enterprise level, there's so many things and so many levels when it comes to training and courses and facilitating personal development for the team internally. How do those relationships come about with these companies? Is it usually just word of mouth? Do they look out for you? They come searching for you? Where does that even start?
Yeah, it's great. So first of all, we have a great marketing team. We do a lot of work in organic, right? Our search, discovery. We focus on the problems at the end of the day the customers are trying to solve. That's how customers typically find us, is they're looking to solve a problem. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to start. My tools aren't as friendly or aren't getting me the acceleration of learning that I need. We focus on specific markets. So from a direct perspective, this is kind of where I started at Cypher about a year ago. And what I'd say is we were a mile wide and an inch deep, right? We're a global company. We have customers in Asia Pac, in the Middle East, in Latin America, all over the world. And, we're looking at how do we continue to scale and grow our operation in the right way. And so most of what we're doing now to try to scale the way that customers do find out about us is with direct sales and direct marketing in North America, Europe, and markets, as well as through key channel partners like Microsoft, AWS, OEM partners, large consulting firms like PwC and others that know about us and are the trusted source of technology for these enterprise customers. And
Mhm.
when they need to bring, a university like Coke has done for us, they have an entire university for their entire supply chain,
Mhm.
right? They come to us and find out, okay, great, I can enable all of my partner network, my bottlers, my retail operations, my point of sale drivers, the merchandisers on how to actually present our product in a way that's going to work for them
Mhm.
and train them on new products as they come out. And so to me, it's about a combination of marketing
Mhm.
discovery. It's about focusing on the customer problems and making sure they're finding you when they are articulating them in the wave that I described, as well
Yeah.
as through our direct and indirect channels.
And do you think, is there a specific, maybe not a specific, but is there a priority of focus between these? And I'm just trying to think about these in terms of the challenges that come through it. Because obviously, if you're creating a lot of larger enterprise partnerships, then they have their own partnerships, in which is an avenue for you guys, which is
Yeah.
what you just described. And then there's the direct one, where there's maybe a little bit more of an education side of things, where you have to educate the customer on, hey,
Yeah.
who you are, what you do. Here's all the proof that we have from before. Which one of those is more of a difficult journey to create and create, bring more of those opportunities?
Yeah. Well, the most important thing is focusing on the customer problem you're trying to solve, right? And so at the end of the day, is it about accelerating onboarding? Is it about making sure your customers
Mhm.
know about your product, know how to use your product? Is it about hours saved in terms of the time it takes to develop and keep these courses refreshed? So
Yeah.
we typically start with understanding the problem and what the pain point is and how they measure the pain, right? Is it that they have, employee retention issues or customer churn issues because they're not training their employees in the most relevant, skills that their business needs to
Yeah.
deliver to meet the needs of the day? And so that's the first step. I'd
Mhm.
say the second step is, once we talk about the solution, yes, for enterprise partners, you've got to, if you're not the system of action, which we're not the HRIS system like a Workday or a
Mhm.
CRM like a Salesforce, we have to play well in their environment. What that means is we have to integrate easily across all of that ecosystem of where employee and customer data sits and make sure it's always up to date and it's always in sync about who's taken what, right? Specific training or module, where are they in their skills progression? What's the
Mhm.
next thing that we should be training or developing them on so that we can deploy those things in real time and always make sure the data is accurate. And
Mhm.
so we've made a lot of investments, right, through a number of either direct integrations or third party platforms like Workato, right, which is a platform that allows you to integrate with lots of different enterprise systems quickly
Sure.
and build recipes that are pre
Mhm.
built and just tweak them for new customers. So that's how we accelerate time to value, right, to
Mhm.
solve those problems for those
Yeah.
customers at enterprise or mid market.
And out of curiosity, which one do you like more when you're trying? When
Oh,
you're,
well, I mean,
yeah.
to me, I came from a sales background and
Mhm.
marketing background. I really enjoy understanding the problem. I mean, I'll
Yeah.
give you an example. NTT Data is a big customer of ours. In fact, they just won
The award, yeah, I
Customer of the
saw.
Year. Yeah, it was amazing. And they through our platform, are saving 24 work days in developing courses,
Mhm.
every year. That they've increased their engagement of people actually using their training and development platform, our white label platform,
Mhm.
from 60% to 96%, which is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Imagine like 36% more of their organization now using this. And their average test scores are up from 85 to 93. So they're actually not only getting more people to use it, but they're getting more successful outcomes. And so
Mhm.
to me, that's what I love is delivering on our purpose, mission, and vision, which is giving learners the edge they need to be
Mhm.
successful in the market by delivering an all-in-one solution. They don't have to cobble together with different pieces. It's all there, and the tools are easy to use, not
Mhm.
only for the admins who are developing the learning, but also the users.
And that's so interesting. I definitely relate to that. I think being able to show the value proposition and then deliver and then be able to show the ROI of like,
Yeah.
hey, here's everything that you actually got from this is so amazing. Um, Especially when you are able to deliver that with such accurate data, which brings me back to the point that I wanted to speak about when you did mention it in the beginning, which is I feel like so many companies now, or not, I feel like after speaking with hundreds of them, there is so much data everywhere, but not a lot of them know how to use it. They don't know how to understand it. They don't know what to do with it. There's a lot of numbers, a lot of information, it's a lot of words, but there's never like, okay, here's what we have, here's what we can take from it, and here's how we should act. I feel like a lot of them are very much lost. Have you
Yeah.
found that to be a situation where a lot of your partners, a lot of your guys' clients are actually going through that process as well?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how important is accurate data, do you think?
Well, it's a
Yeah.
vicious cycle. We have actually a graph that we show
Yeah.
sometimes to customers that say, you're starting with, either dated or old technology that doesn't allow you to develop courses quickly, that leaves your employees, right, untrained and not with relevant skills for your market. You
Mhm.
try to make it work by putting more hours into this legacy system, and you're still in the same death cycle, right?
Yeah.
You're never gonna be able to do it. And so what we provide is an ROI calculator that says, okay, here's your current situation. Tell us how many hours does it take to in person, to develop these courses. How many hours of training do you provide? What's the outcome of those training?
Mhm.
And we actually have this ROI calculator we're launching on our site for anybody to go there and
Oh,
check
nice.
it out themselves and give them a personal one once we get a meeting to understand their specific situation. But to me, the measurement, right, of those things to get people to actually think about it and put it on time and paper to say how many people, hours, outcome, percentage are they getting, and what's the actual outcome. Some people do have the data, to your point, some people don't. We estimate it together, but we've got real fact-based data from our customers,
Mhm.
like Wilson Depot, who's in the medical training space. They've been using our platform to centralize, scale, create interactive training courses across their 100 stores.
Mm.
And so they've been reducing their course creation costs by over 50%. They've saved 600 man hours per month. It's enabling more capacity for their 4 full-time employees to
Mhm.
be deployed in more relevant areas. They've also done it through mobile-friendly gamified content, which is reaching
Mhm.
more people in the field. And so we know there are measures. It's in the early stages, right, for businesses to really understand the training
Yeah.
data that's important to know whether they're successful or not. But we've got the right benchmarks to share that with them if they don't.
That's very, very cool. Very, very exciting. Anytime I see anything around data or being able to see data and have that available, it's always like, hey, there's so much that we can do with this.
Yeah.
Let's do the right things with it. Let's do the right
Yeah,
things with it.
yeah, it's
Um,
incredible. I mean, I had a great professor at Babson College
mm,
who went on to write a Harvard Business School case study called "Competing on Analytics," and it
mm,
really served as a foundation of mine to really understand not only why is data relevant, but how do you use data to compete more effectively, to
mm,
know that your training's working, know that your employees are ready, that they've got the right skills, and you can actually show it, to a manager or to a
yeah.
leadership team and make sense, right? And that's the piece that we're trying to continue to
Mhm.
raise up is training and development. It should be a top 3, right, requirement and priority for most organizations. If they aren't making it that, what they're suffering from is they're going to keep finding employees don't have the right skills. They're going to
Mhm.
churn out because they don't have the tools to
Yep.
actually train them. And they're going to be hiring people at least a 10 to 20% higher compensation rate than just upskilling that employee. And so
Mm.
we're about investing in their team with the right platform to be able to show that ROI from the people
Mm.
that you have in seat.
That's really, really cool. Yeah, I like that. It's always so, I guess, quote unquote obvious when we hear it. It's like, hey, if this person leaves and you have to hire another person, it'll be more expensive. And everyone's like, yeah, no problem, I get it. But then actually going through it, it's it's
Right.
another completely different situation. You mentioned your professor, and I'd love to ask, throughout your entrepreneurial career, when it comes to mentors and advice that you've had along the way, I think it's often overlooked, or maybe forgotten. It's not mentioned enough how much some mentors' advice, and things that they say, their overarching eagle's eye view on our situation of like, hey, just do this, focus on this.
Yeah.
What are some of the pieces of advice that you've received along the way that really stuck with you and maybe impacts how you view growth when it comes to
Yeah,
cyber
yeah, no,
learning?
that's great. I've had so many, and I'll tell you one thing that stuck with me since probably childhood is
Sure.
my parents and mentors, always encouraged me to be a hand raiser. And what does
Mm,
it mean to be a hand raiser? It's not just that you're asking questions in class. It's when something comes up and says, who wants to go do this, or who might have an idea about that, or who might want to try something. Even if you don't know how to do it and you have no idea what the outcome is going to be, raise your hand, right? Be a hand raiser and go experiment and learn, right? Learn in the moment around something that can teach you. You're going to learn something. You're going to learn how to do it the wrong way or do it the right way, or
Yeah.
maybe some skills that when it comes up in the future, you'll at least know steps 1 and 2 and have to figure out step 3. And so
Yeah.
that's a philosophy that I share with my
Mm.
employees. Any new onboarded employee, I even share it with my own children. I raise them saying, listen, be a hand raiser, get that experience. You're going to be a utility player. You're going to be seen as someone that I can throw into any situation and they'll go figure it out. That's what you want to be to an organization, is invaluable, right? They know that if they, pass you over for that promotion
Mhm.
or don't continue to reward you, right, you're not going to be able to deliver that range of capabilities that you've demonstrated for them. And those are the people, to me, that rise through the organization, are the hand raisers.
I really like that. I really like that. It's an extra. It sounds to me like an extra step on just proactivity, but more so like just we have to be proactive, but also be involved. Do
Yeah,
your best to be
100%.
involved in everything.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really, really like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you one other is I when I first managed a 400-person organization, I was promoted when I was at AOL, and I went out and looked for books, and I was like, oh gosh, I've never done this before, and I found this book, and it was called "I'm in Charge. Now What Do I Do?"
Okay.
And I opened it up, and inside the foreword was a, a summary from our chairman, whose name is Dick Parsons, who went on to be, chairman of many large organizations. And to me, it was like, okay, well, if he's writing in this, maybe it's good enough for me to learn. And it
Yeah.
really laid out the kind of 30, 60, 90 day of how do you listen, right? When you
Mhm.
come to an organization, understand the language, how do people communicate, what's the culture, plan, right? What are the things that we need to do differently? How can I begin to accelerate performance, accountability, efficiency, growth, right? And execute. What are the processes that we need in
Mhm.
place? What technologies do we have that we can leverage? Do we need to upgrade certain people or teams to be able to scale the
Mhm.
organization? So I always think about that as listen, plan, execute. And every meeting, right, every day
Mhm.
is all about those 3 things.
I really, really like that. John, I have two extra questions for you
Sure.
here, if that's okay. One is a
Yeah.
question that I've actually been asking everyone, and you probably heard it from one of the episodes if you watched it, which is the magic wand question. I think it raises or it removes the ceiling, it allows people to think. So for you, if you had a magic wand where you can just wave that wand, and it would help you solve one thing, one challenge, one obstacle within Cypher Learning that would allow you guys to grow immensely, reach some of your targets, reach some of your goals, what would that one thing be for you?
Yeah. To be honest with you, I think our biggest challenge right now is awareness.
Mm.
That's our biggest challenge. We've won tons of awards. We're in, the Gartner education and business, quadrant of technologies. We've built, a really good base of customers, but to get to the next level of, competing, right, with other publicly, well-funded public companies, right, we don't have the marketing investment to be able to get there. And to me, part of it is saying, wow, look at what an incredible job this company has done with the portfolio of companies and educational institutions they partnered with. They've actually got some really good momentum here.
Mm.
And if I speak with some of their customer references, I know, or I would say confidently they'll have good stories to tell. But to me,
Mhm.
it's an awareness thing. So if I could make all of our target customers just aware a little bit to the
Mhm.
point where they'll actually help us understand their challenges and see how we might help them solve those challenges.
Mhm.
That to me is the easiest thing, because I'll tell you why I'm here. I came to Cypher Learning because when I saw the product that Graham had developed and saw the demonstration, I had what I call an epiphany moment, which is your entire frame of how learning will be, kind of continued to be managed and how it will continue to evolve over time changes in an instant.
Mhm.
And I saw the future and I said, wow, this is going to be very different. The way AI can be incorporated not only in course development, but personalized learning agents, manager agents, right? Other personas along the learning lifecycle
Yeah.
that need help to accelerate learning. We're in a great position to be able to do that for a lot
Mhm.
of different companies. We just need to let them know who we are. and give us a chance to meet.
Awesome. I really like that. And final question is that not a question from me? It's a question from the past guest.
Yeah.
So you ready for that?
Yeah.
Awesome. What is something that you are doing in the business that you are most proud of when it comes to the impact in education and training?
Yeah, yeah. Well, to me, the things that I love the most is when you have global reach and impact, right? That's the scale of what we can do is so exciting, right? When you talk about small scale, local, regional, national, global, right? We're in probably 70 different countries. We're in 50 different languages. We're helping the entire country of Qatar, their entire K-12 system is on our platform for 130,000 simultaneous learners, 100,000 parents, right? All of these stats are mind-boggling when you think
Mhm.
about the reach and capability of what technology can do to help learners, right, at that level to be able to engage and learn in the moment in Arabic or in a region that we have no physical presence. That's what gets me so excited is how quickly learning has evolved to be able to achieve that level of global scale.
That's so interesting. I really like the capacity. One, obviously, we talk about technology and all these things. One, the capacity that it has to just be implemented, and the reach that it can have for through the technology that we have now. It's so interesting how you guys, obviously a company based in the US, is not just a US company. It's obviously not just you, but so many other people as well. And I think that impact, at the end of the day, the care that people have for what they want to achieve and how they want to help people is what truly drives businesses at the end of the day. And I really see that with what you guys are doing. So John, thank you one for being here, for answering that. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. Where can people go if they want to learn a little bit more about Cypher Learning, maybe a little bit more about you as well?
Yeah, thank you, Joao. And listen, we're always open to taking any inquiries from customers that are interested in solving the challenges of making sure their students, their employees are keeping pace with the needs of the market and their business. That's where we're having the most success. So if you're interested in reaching out, cypherlearning.com. I'm John Kannapell, available on LinkedIn. Please reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John.